You know, I feel very dead inside.
No, it looks good on you. It's a good look.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. I thought I was going to never lose. I was starting to feel a little invincible.
It's hard to see the picture. I think you need to upgrade your camera maybe so we can get a clearer view.
My camera,
No, it's
oh.
probably my quick. Oh,
It's off.
I thought he went out and took a picture of Keegan.
Does that look better?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
But the problem is if I put it on HD, like, you guys are, like, you're going to lose me halfway through, I think.
Nice.
All right, I think we are live. So, first and foremost, I have some explaining to do. This wonderful little bit of attire that you see here on top of my head is my
True
punishment. Love. No, it's my punishment because if you don't already know, I do not heart Keegan Bradley as a baby, especially. But, yeah, so I think it's probably obvious at this point who lost the 3-man last week. It was not even close. What did I have? 1 of 6 through or something like that? It was awful. I knew it was over before it was over, and I had
Eric kicked our ass.
Yeah, I had to watch it happen. Eric ran away with it. He was
good to get one.
It wasn't even close. So, any other comments you guys have about last week? Anything else stand out to you? Any takeaways that you guys had?
Not really. I really had a little bit less exposure. I got really busy after chat last week, so I had minimal lineups. So cash game hit, but other than that, GPPs weren't the greatest. But Eric, how much did you get done this weekend or this past week? I mean,
it was pretty solid. I had my Hideki, my typical Hideki exposure. Had some Snedeker. Didn't have any Siwoo, but it's all right. You can't always have the winner. So I did pretty solid. Bud Colley helped out a lot. I was overweight on him, so it was one of my better weeks.
Awesome. Well, that's all good stuff. All good stuff. So we are into the very first week of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Does that make you guys happy or sad? I asked Kenny the same question. Are we in a time of misery here where we're counting down the days to the end of the season, or are we fired up, ready to rock and roll and fire on the $10 million payout for the FedEx Cup playoffs? Chris, are you fired up?
I am. I actually really enjoy the playoffs, and I didn't get through the whole podcast, but I know Kenny was pretty excited too, and I kind of got that same feeling like the end of the season. Not maybe your casual golf fan maybe doesn't follow it as much, but like he said, $10 million is a lot, and it's a nice. I think it's 5 weeks. You get a week off before the Tour Championship, I believe. So it's a nice 5-week stretch to the end of the season here, and there isn't much of an off season, so you kind of got to enjoy this before you get into the fall season because it's then back to grind of the golfers, the big golfers in the world aren't going to be around for a while, so you really got to enjoy these strong fields.
Yeah. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm guessing that you become less of a fan DFS-wise as these kind of the fields narrow down. Just some of your opinions on the smaller fields, not having as much course history or not just having the leverage that you're used to. So I'm guessing you're not a big fan of it from a DFS standpoint, but it is fun to watch. It's fun if you get into a pool with some buddies. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to doing, and just kind of pick a bunch of guys and just kind of follow. But so I'm looking forward to the.
Yeah, the DFS player in me is probably looking forward more to the fall swing season than the FedEx Cup playoffs, I think. But the golf lover in me is probably more excited for the FedEx Cup playoffs. I'll be playing daily fantasy. I won't get away from it. I mean, I think there's still value too. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what comes out in some of these cash game lineups. I think probably the 30-man field is a real stretch. That one, I think I'll probably I won't take the week off, I don't think, but I may not play a whole lot there. Even the 70-man field, I think, has some value left over because you see, I mean, when you get in these, like when you play head-to-heads and you just look, like go through and take $51 head-to-heads and just go through and look at the lineups you see and just, like, you'll almost always, if you have 50 of them, you'll almost always have 2 of them that are starting out just dead money. You know? I mean, you've got guys who are going to be rostering just, it's dead money. So
Yep.
I don't know. I think there's still some value out there. I think you got to choose your game selection carefully, and I think outside of that, you choose your targets a little more carefully and take it for what it's worth. It is what it is. We're all playing the same slate, so if you're truly exceptional, you will find the advantage, and I think it's still there. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. We're on Bethpage Black this week. We've got the FedEx Cup playoffs kicking off, which means we have a little bit of a shorter field, 121, I believe, players in the field. Going to cut down to 100 next week, so we've got a few narratives there with the guys who are on the bubble. And outside of that, we've got a really strong field. All the top golfers in the world are basically here. Why don't we go ahead and let Chris kick us off here? We'll combine the 10 through the 12K. I think that range kind of makes sense here. We're sort of talking about decisions in this same range. So Jason Day down to Brooks Koepka. Where are you going this week, Chris?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the field. It's when you first look at it, there's a ton of guys at the top. Obviously, it's a strong field. Looking at the bottom, though, there seems to be a lot of value in the 6 and 5K range. So I know myself, for tournaments at least, I'm definitely going stars and scrubs picking. Looking at my list here, I got 5 guys in this top range that I'm kind of looking at. Dustin Johnson's going to be my favorite. Jason Day, Henrik Stenson, and then Spieth. So I guess, first of all, DJ, I like. He's first in proximity I'm looking at this week. He's got the driving distance. Bethpage is a beast this week. So par 4 scoring and bogey avoidance, I think, come in big this week as well, just because the par 4s are going to be long. Looking at the last time it was played here in 2012, actually, sorry, the 2009 U.S. Open, plus 51 was the par 4 scoring average of the guys in the top 10, and minus 40 was on the par 5. So you're going to not need to make your scoring on the par 4s, but you're going to need to avoid those bogeys in the par 4s, avoid those big scores, and then make your scoring up on the par 5s. So DJ fits there for me, along with the total drive. And then my GPP play that I really like here, I think he's going to be low owned, and I know you're against him a little bit this week, is Jordan Spieth. I just think he plays these hard courses really well. I know his approaches aren't the greatest, but he's excellent around the green, which I'm looking at this week with a lot of the sand. He's 9th in scrambling, 19th in sand save percentage, and then he's still up there 3rd in birdie or better. So he's going to be my GPP play. I just think he's possibly going to be overlooked with all the top talent here this week. So, and other than that, I'm avoiding Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy. But that's pretty much it. A little bit of exposure to Henrik Stenson as well. He's just one of the hottest players in the world right now. Hard to avoid, but DJ and Spieth for me are my top 2.
So tell me real quick, what you said your take on Spieth was that he plays well on these tough courses. So I don't know. I personally, I think I disagree a little bit with that, just because we've seen in some of these majors, when we've played on major type courses, we've seen him underperform. I think the note you had on the ownership, I think, is probably the biggest reason I would have to play Spieth. I mean, I've talked about it before, but this is a guy who can win any given week. So, some of what I'm reading into this week is kind of course fit and some of the statistics I don't like. But if you think his ownership is low, I definitely think it's a week where he can win, so there's no fault in jumping on him there. Eric, tell us what you're going to do with Spieth, and then where else are you going to go in this range?
First of all, I agree. I think Spieth is going to get overlooked. 11,000 is a nice price for him, but I still think that he's just shown pretty shaky form as of late. So people are just going to avoid him and go. And if they're going to spend, they're going to spend at the top. So I like him for GPPs. Obviously, just repeating everything you just said, that he can win any given week. So at a low ownership, which I believe it's a solid pick. I probably won't have. I'll probably aim to have the exact field average, I guess, ownership on him. Maybe 8 to 10% of my lineups with Spieth. I just think that it might even be overweight. I'm not too sure what you're projecting him at, but that's my take on Spieth. Good GPP play. Chris, I'll agree. I like the DJ play as well. I think he's going to get overlooked just because of his miscut at the PGA, and I haven't really heard of him being talked up much. So I think that's another solid GPP play. My favorite play is going to be Stenson, just mainly for cash. But overall, I think it's going to be very contrarian to go balanced and even drop down and not take anyone 10K and above, and just kind of stick to the average salary, just 9K, high 7K kind of guys. And I think that's just going to be a very contrarian way to build a lineup this week. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing more so than not in GPPs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really popular to take a couple of these guys in this top range. It's going to be really common for people to go like Jason Day, Brooks Koepka, or Jason Day, Henrik Stenson, or Dustin Johnson, Henrik Stenson. I mean, the combination of those guys alone, I think, is going to be a huge chunk of lineups. But my concern with just going in that mid-range is that I think we're going to see one of these guys probably take this tournament down. So I'm a little bit concerned about fading all of them, if that makes sense. I probably won't have a ton. A lot of times I like to have something like 40 to 60%, usually on the upper side of that range of at least one of these guys up top, and kind of hope that he wins. But I think in this case I'm going to have something like 30 to 40% of a couple of them, and then drop down and go a little bit more overweight on some of these lower range guys. So definitely an interesting take. I think it will be contrarian, though, if you kind of start in this middle tier range and then stay a little bit more balanced. I think that's going to be kind of an unpopular decision-making process this week. So definitely some merit there. The one guy you didn't mention, who I think I kind of like, is Brooks Koepka. I talked about him a little bit on the podcast, but we're talking a little bit about recency here. With a 4th and a 9th place finish recently, I think he's off of his injury. I think we're safe to jump back on Brooks Koepka. At 10,100, he's a guy who I could very easily see make a run in these FedEx Cup playoffs and win the whole damn thing. He's had kind of, I think, sort of a subpar year compared to last year, which was obviously a pretty phenomenal season. Statistically, he checks out really well. So I think, I think we could see Brooks Koepka as the type of guy who gets on a couple of these more difficult courses, has more of an all-around game, just go off and, kind of take down one or two of these FedEx Cup tournaments, or top 10 a couple of them, and win the whole thing. So am I crazy? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, want to hear my made-up story on Brooks?
Okay.
So I know that, I think we've been talking about it for a while, that he's really made the Ryder Cup team, and he has clinched it. So I'm basing off his last few performances he's been playing through a pretty banged up ankle. I've read that it's been heavily taped. I think he had some torn ligaments in there. So I've told myself that he gutted out those performances just to make the Ryder Cup team. And now he's pretty safe in the FedEx Cup standings as well. He's on the Ryder Cup team. I just don't see, if at any point in this tournament his ankle flares up, I can see him, kind of stepping off the gas a bit. So that's just something I'm kind of worried about. And I also think he will be popular. So I've convinced myself with that story I kind of threw in my head there that I'm going to be fading him this week, just based on on narrative there.
Yeah, I saw the fact that he clinched, and to me, I think that if he was still battling his ankle injury, I don't see that he has a whole lot of motivation to come out and play this event. I mean, it could be that we see him withdraw still.
Yeah.
That's possible, but to me, it feels like a week where there's not. We've already seen several guys withdraw who don't really have a whole lot of motivation to be here. Sergio Garcia is the really the key one that I'm thinking of here, but I don't know. I mean, we've also seen Koepka start events and not finish them, so there's definitely something to take into account there. I'm not sure I would go to Koepka in cash by any means, but I think I'll take on some of that risk in GPP and hope to hit some upside and hope that others are concerned the same way you guys are. So, is there anybody we missed up in this range? Nobody.
Justin Rose, what's your guys' take on Justin Rose? I just think, coming off the high of the Olympic win, at 10-3, he's going to need to be in that top 5 again. I'm just not sold that he's going to do it this week. He doesn't have great course history here. I mean, it's also 3 and 3 and 5. 6 years ago, they need to pay off his salary this week. Is my take on Rose.
Okay. The other guy I was going to mention is Rory McIlroy, who I'm not so sure about. Like, I think I'm going to have some percentage of Rory, but I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about him. I mean, statistically, he fits the course pretty darn well. He has a 10th and a 24th place finish in the two kind of data points I'm looking at. And, he's coming off a one missed cut, but he's coming off a 5th and a 3rd place finish. So, I don't know. This feels like the perfect kind of recency bias situation to jump back on Rory. I think he, like Spieth, is going to go really under-owned, and he, unlike Spieth, I think fits this course a hell of a lot better than Spieth does. So, Rory feels like an even better consideration than Spieth does this week with the history he has and with the course fit. I mean,
what about the talking of he's even switched putters again?
I saw that. I'm not too worried about that because his putting has been pretty dog shit anyways.
Yeah, it can't get much worse.
Yeah, I mean, he's switched putters. I don't know if you remember, or was it putters or putting strokes? He was doing something different partway through the season.
Grip,
yeah. Yep, yeah, that's right. He played it for like 4 events and like went off for the first 3 and then putted like dog shit again after 4 of them, and just he's been all over the place with his putting. So to me, I'm not super worried about that. I'm gonna probably still definitely consider him, but I'm not sure I'm gonna pull the trigger too heavily on McIlroy by any means. So, all right, we've spent enough time in this 10K and up range, so let's go ahead and drop down. Eric, you talked about having more of a balanced lineup, so this is going to be your kind of where you're going heavy on. So start with just these 9K guys. Who are you looking at in this range?
Yeah, so my favorite play, and I think he has a really good chance of winning this week, is Hideki Matsuyama. I think he's going to be chalky, which so I guess people are going to go, one of the top 5 or 6 guys, and then maybe go Hideki if he is chalk. But I still like him a lot this week. He's coming in with fantastic form, kind of on one of those hot streaks that he had earlier in the year. He fits the course really well in terms of stats, just phenomenal strokes gained, tee to green, and strokes gained approach. Obviously, he's not the best putter. Like he struggled all year with that, but this course kind of from the last 2 winners, you don't have to be the best putter in the world to win here.
Lucas,
Lucas Glover won here, and Nick Watney, and I looked up Watney's stats that year in 2012, and he lost strokes gained putting as well. So someone kind of similar to Hideki there, just really good ball strikers, below average putters, but I like his hot streak coming in. And someone I think that's getting overlooked a lot this week is Adam Scott. He's first in strokes gained tee to green. Phenomenal proximity stats from 175 to 200 plus, which I think are going to be some key ranges this week. He hasn't had many high finishes as of late, but he's been playing pretty consistent, making a ton of cuts. So I think that this just is another course similar to Hideki, bad putter, but a phenomenal ball strikers that I think Scott's going to get overlooked a lot, so I like him a ton for GPPs. And just like, yeah, you mentioned that one of the top 6 guys is going to win, but I think Adam Scott could easily, if he had a recent high finish, maybe a top 5 as of late, he'd be up in the 10K range as well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And actually, Adam Scott, I think, is the guy I like most in this range as well. He is one guy I did not really talk about on the podcast, but as the week's gone on, I've kind of jumped on board with Adam Scott. I think he's in a really almost the exact same spot as Rory. I think he has similar upside, kind of similar possibility for finishes here. Doesn't quite have the same course history, but is, $2,000 cheaper. So I don't know. I feel like Adam Scott is really where my pivot is going to end up. I may have a little bit of Rory, but I think Adam Scott is where I'm going to end up landing in GPPs in quite a bit. He's first in strokes gained approach to green, and first in strokes gained tee to green, and 5th in scoring average, 11th in birdie. I mean, every stat I'm looking at basically the tits. So I don't see any reason not to roster Adam Scott. The fact that he is going to be super low owned, going to be overlooked in a big way, and has not been playing terrible golf. I mean, he's not been winning tournaments necessarily, but 18th, 43rd, and 10th in the last 8 weeks is not enough to rule him out, in my opinion. So definitely going to like some Adam Scott. I'll just kind of keep rolling here, and then I'll kick it to you, Chris. But I also like Hideki. I think he is going to be chalk for sure. Statistically, he fits about as well as anybody does outside of Dustin Johnson here. Again, Hideki is kind of. There was a lot of speculation that he was injured. Seems like he's kind of off of that injury boat. He's a good value here, and really is good statistically in the categories I'm looking at. So, and then the even more scary person that I'm going to talk about here is Phil Mickelson, who comes in second in my overall rankings. I don't know. I don't feel like all warm and fuzzy inside rostering Phil Mickelson, but at 9,700 with the year he's having, it's hard not to make a case for him. Especially, he's got some pretty decent history at Bethpage. I'm gonna have some of him for sure. I think this range, I'm gonna have quite a bit of Adam Scott, and then Phil, Hideki, and then a little bit of Bubba will probably be the guys I have here. I do really like Kuchar's out of the tournament now, isn't he? Did I read that somewhere?
You withdraw?
I did not hear that yet.
Okay, so that's a situation to monitor because I'm fairly certain I saw Rob Bolton tweet it out from ESPN.
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
He had not necessarily withdrawn from the field, but was planning on withdrawing or something along those lines.
Oh,
so
I see.
Definitely something to keep an eye on there, though. Seems like it's a situation where we know he's out, may not participate in the tournament, but is probably still in the field. Either way, though, I didn't like Kuchar in the first place. I think I can make a pretty good case for fading Kuchar. I was kind of actually disappointed to see that he withdrew because I was hoping to see the 25 or 30% or whatever ownership on Kuchar, and I think his floor is so low in this type of event with this type of field. So, I'm a little bit disappointed, but something to monitor or keep an eye on at least. It sounds like it's pretty well confirmed, though. Rob Bolton, I think, is a pretty good source in terms of those types of tweets and that type of information. So, definitely something to keep an eye on, though, if not. Okay, so Chris, I'll let you take us away here. Is there anybody we missed? I know we talked about just about everybody in this range, but is there anybody? I know we missed Louis, right?
And Bubba.
Yeah, well, Louis on my fade list along with, well, Kuchar was there too, and yeah, after him pulling out of the Pro-Am, I guess that would have been today, and probably, likely pulling out tomorrow, I guess. He doesn't really need to play this event. He's definitely off. I like you guys' takes on Matsuyama. I can't really add much there. Phil, I like his 2 second places at the U.S. Open in 02 and 09 here. But looking at 2012, he finished 38, so I'm probably going to end up fading Phil. He seems like more of a U.S. Open major type player versus, I guess, here. I mean, it's a small sample size, but I'm kind of away from this range. The one guy that I do like outside Matsuyama, you guys didn't mention, like Eric said, there was Bubba Watson. I'm going to have probably a lot overweight on him this week. He's got some nice form here, 10th in 2012 and 18th in the 09 U.S. Open. So he finished 3rd in the Barclays last year. Not that really matters, but he just seems like the Olympics really brought out, I don't know, a little bit different of Bubba. He really seemed to buy in. So I just think he's going to come into these playoffs, and I think he's another guy that I think has a great chance at taking the whole thing down and could be extremely overlooked. I know I'm in a league where we're betting, I think, $50, and we're picking 2 or 3 guys, and I got him as my last pick, and I was extremely satisfied with that. So outside of what you guys already talked about, yeah, Bubba and Hideki are pretty much my only guys in the 9K range, but I'm going to be heavy in the top range. So
awesome. Well, let's go ahead and drop down then. Eric, why don't you take us away in this 8K range then?
Sure. A couple guys I like in here. Obviously, Snedeker's been playing pretty solid as of late. He came 2nd here in 2012, which is a nice sign at 8,900. I think that's a good price. Not sure how much he's getting talked about, but I like guys coming, kind of rounding into form, coming into the playoff stretch here. This is some tough golf ahead of them, so anyone coming in with some good form is someone I'm eyeing. I haven't heard, for GPP purposes, I think my favorite play in this range is Brandon Grace. I haven't seen anyone really talk about him, mention him, from what I've read and listened to in podcasts. So I think that's a sneaky play at 8,700. He's 9th in strokes gained tee to green and 4th in strokes gained approach. 6th from 175 to 200, so a good long iron guy. He came 4th at the PGA and then missed a cut. So maybe people are looking at that missed cut and just kind of avoiding him, but I think there's some sneaky top 5 upside with Grace that's just not getting talked about. And that's about it. So I guess I'm kind of going with Grace and Snedeker, and then Scott in my GPPs. Kind of my contrarian stack there, I guess you could call it.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I like Patrick Reed. I think Snedeker's going to. I like Snedeker more for cash games. I think he's going to be pretty high owned. I'm not sure how much he's been talked about yet either. Kind of look into that here before I make lineups after this. But Patrick Reed, I'm really looking at strokes gained around the green, which is scrambling in your sand saves this week, just with the hard sand here at this course. And Patrick Reed fits the bill there for me. Coming off a nice finish at the Olympics. And then moving down, I am skipping over Jim Furyk. I just think a lot of people are going to be on him, with that amazing round lately. Even with that 58 and him holding a 58 and a 59, I still look at him as kind of a par maker. He ranks 165th in birdie or better percentage, 139th on the par fours, and then his driving.
Uh-oh.
No, not again.
No. No. What?
That Central Canadian internet's cutting out.
No. He said he had 2 routers. Chris, do you exist?
I hear you guys.
Oh, he exists again.
Yeah. What did you hear
Paul.
last? I was just ragging on Jim Furyk.
Yeah, we did hear you talk about his 156th or whatever birdie or better percentage.
Just looking at his birdie or better and his par 4 score, and I'm fading him this week in the 8K range. So pretty much it's Snedeker for cash, Patrick Reed for GPP.
Don't fade Jim Furyk.
Don't. Okay.
Don't
Why?
do it.
Tell me why.
Because he's 94th on the list in the FedEx Cup rankings, which means he's got to defend his 100, he's got to defend his position to get into next week, top
This
100.
is true.
He is 10th, 5th, 73rd, 13th, 59th, 42nd. Gonna make the cut. I think this guy is a seasoned veteran who's in a spot that his back is against the wall. He is the only reason he has any business defending himself into next week is because he was injured. It's the only reason. There's no other. I mean, any other way, there's no chance in hell Jim Furyk is facing elimination after the first round of the FedEx Cup playoffs. So, to me, I think Jim Furyk comes out despite his kind of poor performance at Bethpage, and I think he plays really well. I think he's going to make my cash lineup. I think he definitely makes the cut, and I think he's got the upside to really put together a bunch of decent rounds here. And in a tournament, I mean, what do you guys think the winning score is going to be this week?
8 under.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Okay,
6 or
so
7.
in a tournament like that where there's not that many birdies out there, feels like we were rostering Jim Furyk at the U.S. Open, at the Open Championship, at courses where there aren't that many birdies out there because the same reason you talked about, Chris, he's a par maker. I mean, through and through, that's what he is.
God damn it, you sold me on him.
Nice.
Was it because I talked so close and central into the mic like this?
Exactly.
That's a lot.
It's soothing my brain right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of Jim Furyk. He's probably the guy I like most in this range. I do like Patrick Reed. Really, I like the same guys you talked about. Brennan Grace is really an interesting contrarian play, Eric. I like that a lot. Nobody's been talking about him.
He always gets overlooked and then comes top 5 in them. Well, not always, but it seems like he sneaks into the top 5 in some of these big events.
Yeah,
and when he's
his win.
high on, he
there's
miscuts.
been, yeah, you're right. There's been a lot of events where you're exactly right. Definitely somebody I'm going to be considering here. I may swap him out a little bit with some of these other guys. Did either of you guys talk about Charles Schwartzel? I can't remember.
Negative.
Left him for you.
Nice. Okay. So Charles Schwartzel, I think, is a really good cash option. He's 4th overall in my stats rankings. I like him okay for GPPs, but I'm not sure about his upside. So I'll bounce this question off of you guys. Do you think that Charles Schwartzel, A, can win this thing, or B, can finish top 5 or top 10?
I don't see him winning it. He ranks high in my model overall. I think he's 6th overall in my model, 11th in stats. I don't think he can win, but at 8,500, I don't think you need to win. I think pretty much a top 20, top 15 is going to be great. I think he does have the top 10 upside, so I think he makes a nice GPP play because I think he can exceed his value at 8,500.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do like him more for cash. I think he might be pretty popular. I'm not maybe with Jim Furyk sitting above him, he might lose some ownership there. But I see more of like a top 15 upside to him. I really can't see him winning this event, but I think he can return his $8,500 value there.
Okay. And ultimately, that's my biggest concern is that he just doesn't have the upside for GPPs. I think I still will have him just for kind of, Chris, what you talked about, the possibility that he finishes top 10 or top 15. I think it's there for sure. But I can't imagine a scenario in which Charles Schwartzel ends up firing a 10 under at Bethpage and winning this whole thing. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a very likely scenario, and even a top 5 seems somewhat unlikely to me here. But I think cash is certainly a viable option here. In fact, a really good option. So, but anyways, I digress. We'll move on here.
One question for you, I guess, before we move on. Speaking of this, is on a week like this where the winning score isn't going to be minus 15, minus 20, are you looking more, are you concentrating a little more on DraftKings points, I guess not even so much DraftKings points, but finishing position, more than, say, your birdies or, under all 4 rounds under 70 and that kind of stuff, the bonus point side of it?
Ordinarily, yeah, that's the type of thing I see show up in my models when I build them. This week, because there's the lack of data and lack of information, I didn't even bother trying to run the models that I typically run because I don't trust them anyways. And I found, like for the first half of the season, I ended up building, going through all the work and just tons of hours of building these models, and then I ignored them.
Yeah.
When you have 1 year worth of data, it's just I don't trust them. So I ended up just saying fuck that. There's no way, and throwing them out the window. So this week I use the tools on Fantasy Fanatics, but ordinarily, yeah, I see things like scoring average and things like things that correlate well with finish position, I guess, show up a lot more prevalent than, say, birdie or better percentage or those types of statistics, I guess. That being said, I think birdie or better percentage will correlate here. It always does. I guess that's the hard thing about those types of stats, because it decides the scoring. It's just directly predictive of the scoring. So it's hard to ignore something like birdie or better percentage. It's just how hard do we weight that? And that's the nice thing about my models when I build them, is that they answer those questions for me. But I guess the short answer to your question is yes. The scoring average and the adjusted rounds and things like that sort of point to golfers' finish positions are typically more prevalent in these types of weeks. Do you see the same thing when you take a look at your information?
Yeah, I probably in weeks like this I try and weight birdie or better percentage. I don't ignore it, I guess, but I if I'm putting a certain percentage, say 30% of my weight on my statistics towards birdie or better percentage on a week like this, where the final score isn't going to be -20, -15, and it's going to be more dependent. Your DraftKings scoring is going to be a little more dependent on where your finishing position is. I guess I'm taking a little bit less off of birdie or better percentage, and probably putting a little bit more on bogey avoidance, I guess, more than anything. Mostly because of those par fours and guys putting up huge numbers on them. So that not a whole bunch off the birdie or better, because of the points that you made of it directly correlates with your DraftKings scoring and your finishing position anyway. So I don't take a whole bunch off, but I definitely don't look at it as much as I do in those those smaller field tournaments on the weaker courses where you're finishing with -20, -21, somewhere in that range.
Okay, awesome. I like that. I agree with most of all of that, so that's good. I like to hear others' opinions, and when they align, usually it's a good thing in my opinion. So
yeah.
There's a lot of smart people out there, yourself included, that know what they're talking about. So let's go ahead and drop down into this 7K range. Eric, you've been quiet for a little while.
Eric.
Tell us where we need to go in this 7K range, and talk me off of some of the guys that I'm going to play. Does Eric
Sorry,
exist?
you're chopping out. You directing this one at me?
Yeah, Eric. Jeez, you can't just fall asleep over there and just
cut it in.
Oh my gosh.
There's another guy hanging around.
7K range.
Can you hear my beautiful? I'm really close to my mic. Does that help?
All right.
Yeah,
I hear
really
well.
it's all you.
Okay, 7K range. Paul Casey, 7,800. Another guy that not that good with the putter, but
you see him.
game, approach game. Just get a ball for me.
Oh yeah. Say his name.
Who?
Can you hear me?
Wait. What?
I hear everybody.
Do I need to talk really close to the mic like this again?
That helps. It does.
Okay. You're here with... What would if we had a late night radio show that was like, all night, the type of guy who's just kind of talking to himself, like what would the name of that show be?
Oh, that's a good one.
There's
a spitter ball.
Sensual PGA jazz.
1370 AM radio.
Yeah, it would be a really high station probably, because we couldn't afford the lower.
Yeah. All right. So Eric, go ahead, take us away. Sorry we're getting off the rails here, but were you guys talking about Keegan?
Is that what was happening there?
I was waiting for him to say that's the guy that's sitting around the, right around the cut mark, 106 in the FedEx Cup rank.
I don't like Keegan.
Yeah, I can't play him this week either.
Oh, my vomit. Alrighty.
But yeah, it sounds like he's refreshing. I like Ryan Moore's a guy I'm looking at a little bit. He's got that accuracy side that I really like, the proximity, top 20 from that range. He's 20th in proximity overall, but then he's 7th in 200 plus. He finished 24th in 2012 at the Barclays here at Bethpage, 10th at the 09 U.S. Open. So he's had some success here, and I just think he's having the best, I guess, portion of his season.
Oh boy. Oh boy. You sound like a robot.
Now he's on his good current form. So looking at proximity and looking at greens and regulation and stuff, he's right there.
Okay. You sounded like a robot that whole time, so I didn't really hear anything. But I'll go ahead and take us away. Hopefully the listeners could hear that. But
who's your favorite guys?
I like Kevin Na. But I don't know. I'm hearing all this stuff about. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Do I exist? Okay, thank God. All right. So Kevin Na. I like Kevin Na. I'm a little bit concerned about the baby narrative, but I'm going to just. I mean, it's no different than some fucker withdrawing somewhere else in this field. To me, I mean, if his wife has the baby, then so be it. Then I'm out. Whatever, 10, 15% of lineups, I'm going to be on him, and it's just part of the deal. But to get Kevin Na at 7,300 at probably what's going to be really low ownership because of this whole baby narrative, I'll take the risk and throw away the 10% if that's what I need to do. Alex Cheka, for what it's worth, is out now, so in case you missed that, just a little heads up there. Hopefully you guys all caught that news if you're paying close attention. I like Paul Casey. I also really like Ryan Moore. I think I heard a little bit, it was like
I said his name.
Yeah, I heard his name, and then the rest sounded sort of like a robotic sort of. I don't know.
It's my secret. I have a secret, and I didn't want anyone to hear it.
Oh my Jesus. Okay, so you have like a robot switch you just turn on your internet or something? Is that okay? All right.
Yeah.
Great. Don't do that to my internet, please. So, the recent win, I think afterwards, a lot of people jump back on him at the Wyndham. Recency bias there, and we're probably disappointed, especially with this really high price at the Wyndham. I'm okay with it. I think that 53rd place finish is fuck it. I think he's still got the upside, and now he's back at the price we want him to be at 7,700. And I'm perfectly good with it. I think he's got some volatility for sure, but he's been making cuts all over the place, shown some upside, and has a 24th and a 10th place finish at this course historically. So definitely somebody I'm going to be on to probably a pretty large extent. And then the last guy I'll just mention very briefly here is Russell Knox. I think people are overlooking him, but despite the fact that he's just coming off a win, has a 22nd and 10th place finish recently as well. Statistically, I don't know. I think he fits the course okay, but not great necessarily. He's the type of guy that statistically never really shows out in a big way, but is never really like enough to eliminate him from the conversation, I think. But he's definitely got the upside in a tough field like this. I'm not sure I love his upside, but I think it's there. So I'll probably just take a little sprinkle of Knox, and I think that's the last guy I'll cover here in the 7K range that I really like. So Eric, are you back? I'm back. Are you lost in a time-space continuum again, or are you?
No, I'm here. I think I'm all right.
Okay.
All right.
Quickly, go ahead.
Casey, I like. A pivot off of Knox and Na that I think they're going to be both pretty popular is Patrick Rogers. He's coming off with some good form. His stats are pretty solid for this course. Good off the tee, green and regulation kind of guy that, like I said, good form coming in. So if you want to make a pivot off of Na and Knox, who I think will be highly owned, And maybe some Johnny Vegas as well. He kind of struggled at the Olympics when a lot of people were on him, but he has been showing some pretty solid form as of late as well. So in GPPs, you'll probably get him at a nice low ownership. Just some guys you probably didn't mention there.
Cool. How do you know what we mentioned?
Yep,
You were lost
I'm done.
in time and space.
We're all just talking to each other.
Or
I
to
hear you.
ourselves and just hoping
Individually.
that the other... I like that.
Somebody hear us.
I need to be heard. All right, well, let me kick us off real quick in the 6K range. I'm going to cover a couple chalky guys that I'm sure you guys are also planning on mentioning. Daniel Berger, I think, is underpriced here. Statistically, he is really good. He's in the top. He's in 36 or better in every stat category I'm looking at, and in the top 25 in 4 of 5 of them. So, really good course fit here. He's had a recent result that shows me he's back in some form or another from his shoulder injury. So I'm okay with taking some Daniel Berger. Jason Duffner, I think, is going to be a little bit chalky, but makes a great cash play. I don't know how much upside he has, but again, statistically very good, fits a lot of the stats categories very well. Kind of surprised that Jason Duffner didn't play in either of the two events that I have here for course history. I was kind of hoping to get some sort of picture painted for me on Jason Duffner, but it is what it is. And then probably the last two guys I want to mention, Kevin Kisner, also I think a little bit underpriced. Feels like there could be a good case to be made for Kisner and him being a fade, though. Right now I'm on Kisner, but this feels like a recency bias type play. Kisner is not a long player. I know Bethpage is a little bit longer. Statistically, I'm not sure there's a whole lot there that really stands out for me for this particular course. I think outside of course history, there's not a whole lot here. I'm sorry, not course history. Recent form, there's not a whole lot here for Kevin Kisner. So to me, the longer I go through the week, the more I'm kind of considering Kevin Kisner being a fade, just because I think this is a letdown spot for Kevin Kisner. And then the last guy is Webb Simpson, who I think probably most everybody's going to be on. I think he's going to be real popular. Way the hell underpriced at 6K. Statistically, very, very good. The 72nd place finish recently, I think, made me happy because I was ready to jump on him here at 6K. But ultimately, Webb Simpson was really popular at the Wyndham, had a pretty poor finish, was very high priced, so seems like a good spot for us to get back on Webb Simpson. And I'm not sure how popular he will be. I mean, he burned a lot of people, I think, last week, but he's super underpriced. I mean, at 6K, he's a steal, so I don't know. Here's the question I want you to answer first. Eric, you can go first. Is Webb Simpson a cash consideration with how cheap he is? And then you can tell me who else you like in this range.
I'm not using my cash. I haven't needed to go down this low, just kind of with the way I'm building my cash lineup. But I think you can consider him. Just really good stats for this course. And yeah, he struggled last week, but he still did make the cut. So that's all kind of what you're looking for at 6K. What was the second question?
Who else do you like in this 6K range? It's the most original question I've ever come up with. I just made it up.
So who else do I like? Billy Horschel. He might be gaining some traction as of late. Another guy that's a good iron player, good off the tee, but can't putt. That kind of seems to be the trend for me this week. He came 5th last week, so I like that. And someone else with the exact same kind of makeup is Francisco Molinari at 6,000. 22nd in strokes gained tee green and 27th on approach. Just a kind of a cut maker at 6K. He's coming in with 5 straight cuts and a couple top 10s, so I like Molinari as a GPP play at 6K.
What do you think
That's
Molinari's
it.
upside is?
Top 20. Is
Okay. Oh
that
my God,
fair?
we've lost Chris again.
Yeah, we have. Oh, there he is. What do you think Molinari's upside is?
You talking to me? Can you guys
He's
hear me? I just made it
yeah,
back.
he's not talking to me. I mean, I'm wearing a Keegan Bradley hat.
Okay.
See this? He knows I don't know shit.
I just, Brad, what's your upside on Molinari?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, what you said sounds right. I mean, I was asking because I don't know, honestly. I mean, genuinely. I mean, we've seen him do well, especially on Euro Tour events, but I don't know that he really has too much upside in an event like this. I mean, I don't know. Because we've seen it. We've seen some decent results and some decent fields, but just doesn't feel like a spot for Molinari.
Fair?
But it's all
I guess,
narrative.
yeah,
You
he's
know what I
got those
mean?
high.
It's just all
Yeah.
upside and just my kind of general feeling on him. It's not. There's nothing really intrinsic there that I can definitely point to and say this is why he doesn't make sense. But to me, it just the upside doesn't feel like it's there. But we've seen it, so it's hard to make a case that it's not there. So I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. But Chris, why don't you take us away? Is Webb a cash viable option this week at 6K? And is your internet going to make it long enough for you to get through the 6K range?
No. And yes.
Wait, did you answer him backwards?
No, I didn't. The internet might make
Oh,
it through. Possibly. No, that's just me. Yeah, Webb, I don't think. I got him for GPP play for me this week at 6K. I like Molinari a little bit more for cash. He kind of fits the mold, I guess, just as a safe, not safer play, but Webb to me just doesn't seem like a cash play this week. Not many cash plays for me down in this range. Did you guys mention McGirt at all while I was
Not yet.
no.
about? He's going to be more my cash play consideration. The only guy I'm really looking at in this range. Him and Kistner I usually look at, but you made some really good points with Kistner. That his current form is really the only thing. McGirt really has, in 2012, he finished 10th here, and he fits the mold of the bogey avoidance and the par 4 scoring kind of guy that I'm looking at. A little bit more for cash games this week. Isn't going to make the big number. I don't think he has the upside, but he's got the floor for cash games as well. So Hudson Swafford is another guy I'm looking at in cash. Possibly, he's not. Again, he has zero upside, but he's kind of right along that cut line at 90 as well, and had some good form lately.
Okay. I'm in the process of putting Webb Simpson into my cash lineup, I think.
Nice.
Ugh.
His stats really fit there, though. I mean, I seen his miscut in 2012. It kind of is one thing that kind of drives me away. I mean, that's 4 years ago, so it's hard to look at, but his stats are definitely there. But I think the recency bias, with that last week, kind of along the Ryan Moore theme, is going to drive the percentage down, even at 6K. So I do think he is GPP viable for sure.
Cool. I like it. So is McGirt a cash viable option, do you think?
I think so, just with the accuracy side of things. I always like guys with that accuracy to be cut makers. The bogey avoidance thing as well. I just don't think he really has the upside this week, even though he's finished 10th here, which a top 10 would be awesome at 6,100. But I don't see that. I see it, a top 20, top 30 kind of as his ceiling this week. So more of a cash play, more of a guy that's going to make the cut and just kind of grind his way through.
Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get down into this sub 6K range where I think there's some kind of interesting value down here. Eric, you're the contrarian master today, so tell us where we need to be looking that we are not currently looking, and where are you going to go?
Okay, so I think a lot of people are going to be looking at 5,900 Chapel Steele area. I think those are going to be some popular plays. I think anyone really down here is going to be pretty contrarian just because there's so many guys and you're just kind of sprinkling wherever. But for me, I'm going. I don't really know what his upside is. Maybe top 20, but at 5,700, Robert Garrigus. I was on him the last couple of weeks. His stats just stand out above everyone else in this range for me. Another stroke gain guy, tee to green approach, bad putter, but he ranks really well in all the proximity stats. Who's clapping?
That's me.
No, he's cleaning his rug.
No, it's me.
Okay.
Garrigus.
A big
Garrigus.
Garrigus fan this week.
Garrigus.
You're getting
Sorry,
in my head, man. I'm gonna have like
What'd you
nightmares
say?
of that voice.
This is 1370
Garrigus.
AM. You're talking Robert
Smooth.
Garrigus, smooth jazz.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Now you got me all
That's
fucked up. Okay. Another
How could you
GPP
not
play.
love the echoing sounds of my beautiful voice saying Garrigus over and over while you're trying to make a serious point?
We need to record that and make it an intro.
This isn't Garrigus. Yeah. This isn't my fault, okay, Eric? It's Garrigus' fault. His stats are too damn good for me not to say his name in the background while you talk. All right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, you make a great point. I'm sorry I brought him up. I don't know
Alright,
who
who
else is that. Okay, let me say Smiley Kaufman for 5,600 is dirt cheap. You got a lot of upside there. He's been playing like crap, but he still has the top 15 potential that you're looking for. I saw some crazy stats about apex height and how it relates to this course, just because I think the greens are fairly small, so if you got to hold some shots and some trickier long iron shots. He ranks second there. I think the guys from Tour Junkies were talking about apex height. So if you want to dig deep on that stat, then Smiley Kaufman's your guy at 5,600.
Does he have a
yeah,
high
we're really
or
down
low
here now.
ball flight? I forget which
High
way
ball
it's
flight.
ranked. Okay, that's what I thought. I believe, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, it's
is it
Low
JB
ranking,
Holmes?
high apex.
JB Holmes, I think, has a really high.
JB Holmes, I think, is first.
Yeah, he has a really high apex as well,
Could be
so
wrong
if that's
about
a
that.
narrative you're looking into. And JB Holmes is going to be overlooked, too. We didn't talk about him too much, but in terms of general skill, I think he's a good value and probably a pretty good contrarian GPP player if that's what you're looking for. So, sorry, go ahead. Interruption
Also-
number 2 in this range.
I'm going to interrupt there since you brought
Oh.
up JB Holmes as well. Interruption
Go
number
nuts.
3 is just he's ninth in the Ryder Cup as well, so he's just sitting outside. So I seen an interview with him that it just seems like he's going to be there to try and make that Ryder Cup team. So he's kind of battling Patrick Reed for that. So there's another narrative for JB Holmes. If he's going to be overlooked, I think he's awesome for GPP.
Should we just boot Eric so we don't have to keep interrupting him?
I'm just going to I'll mute myself now.
How
I'll
do
shut
we-
my internet off.
How do we sort this out so we can just like eliminate Eric from the conversation whenever we're ready to, we'll bring him back in. Okay, Eric, you're back. You're back on. We've interrupted you for enough time, so you're back. Who else?
I don't know. I'm out of guys down here. You guys, you're taking over here, so go nuts.
Okay. All right, Chris, take it away, and I won't even interrupt you.
You won't? Okay.
I might.
The only two guys, pretty much, 3 guys, sorry. 2 for GPP, Roberto Castro and Ricky Barnes. Ricky Barnes just kind of going back and looking at some course history, second at the U.S. Open in 2009 and 24th in 2012 at the Barclays. And then KJ Choi, I think, maybe fits as, if you're really going stars and scrubs for a cash game lineup, more like a head-to-head, I guess, situation in that sense. He's made 4 straight cuts here at the Barclays, and then he's also made both cuts in the 09 and 02 U.S. Open as well. And then Roberto Castro's the other GPP play for me this week. He's just been playing really well, and at 5,700, I think he's easily going to make the cut. And a top 30, top 20 isn't out of the question, and he'll crush his value with that.
Okay. So neither of you guys mentioned Ryan Moore, and he is a guy who kind of has me scratch my head a little bit because statistically he seems to fit in a pretty decent way at least. At 5,900, he's kind of been a really, decent cut maker, I'll say. Has a top 25 in 2012 on this course. To me, he fits all of the criteria I look for in a low price cash game viable option. So if I don't go with Webb at 6K, does Ryan Palmer make any kind of sense in cash? And if not, who do you like better? So Eric, why don't we start with you?
Palmer does make a lot of sense. He is more of a cut maker probably than Webb, and kind of has a little more steady. I guess he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses in his game as Webb might, and I guess mainly in the putting category. But I guess if you really want to come down here into the high fives, low six range for cash, I'd probably would lean Palmer. He came 24th here in 2012, so he has results on this course, whereas Webb missed the cut in 2012. If you want to look at the small sample size of course history, and Palmer also ranks 15th in scoring average before the cut, which is helpful. So I guess I would take the $100 in savings and use Palmer over Webb, which I won't be doing myself, but if you want to do that, then I won't talk you off of that.
Okay. So, Chris, are you going to weigh in on my crazy decision to go this low in cash?
No, I agree with that, too. I remember a few weeks ago we had talked about, I brought up Ryan Palmer as being a cash game guy for me.
Oh, boy. Did we lose Chris?
A rough week for the boys on the internet.
Yeah, Chris, do you exist?
And that's pretty much how he plays. So
he comes back in right when he's done. All you hear is and that's basically all I have to say about it. Oh my gosh.
What that
Chris,
translated to was I agree with Eric.
Okay, all right. So you agree with Eric, and I'm retarded for choosing between Ryan Palmer and Webb Simpson. Okay. All right. So is there anybody else you guys really want to cover down here in this 5K range?
You won't hear me anyway.
I think I'm all empty on ideas here.
Okay, a lot of ideas. Yeah, I like the Smiley Kaufman take, like the Robert Garrigus take. Gonna have some sprinklings of Ryan Palmer, Brennan Steele, Daniel Summerhays, Johnson Wagner, and then probably a little bit of Ricky Barnes. He has actually been playing really well, Ricky Barnes has. 2 fifth-place finishes in his last 3 events. He doesn't really have a whole lot of statistics that stand out in any major way, but from 150 to 175, which we see some correlation here, he is ranked 3rd, and he has a 24th and a second-place finish in his 2 go-arounds here. So definitely something there, or at least enough there for me to want to take some Ricky Barnes, and not in necessarily a huge way, but in terms of course history, he ranks 1st here. So if 2 data points is enough for you to think heavily on, then he's your guy. But that's all I'll cover. So I think those are the last guys I'm gonna cover, and so I guess that's gonna do it for now. Is there anything else? Any other topics? Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get into our 3-man contest?
No, let's do it.
Let's get it on.
Alrighty. So, Eric, you were the winner last week.
This week?
Huh?
Oh, I had to come up with the idea too?
Oh, well, we can just go straight up or something.
We haven't gone straight up in a while.
Yeah, we could. Let's do a straight up one.
All right. We can go straight up. Straight up.
Who's doing the invite?
Well, damn sure not you with your internet performance.
Here all night.
Yeah, here, let me make one up real quick. Multiplayer.
Probably spilled too much beer in my keyboard. Computer's drunk.
You can't blame that.
No,
Can't.
I
All
swear.
right. Slurve, 3-man. Optional message. Fuck
Fuck you.
Keegan. No, not
Nice hat.
you. No, bro, I thought we were friends. Holy camole. We used to be friends. Jeez, oh, Pete.
You were gonna say just as a joke,
I
you
would
know?
never. I would never.
Okay.
All right, so we've got Grand Theft Autos.
No, Votto.
God damn it! this
Remember
goddamn-
that guy doesn't want to play with you.
I'm surprised he hasn't accepted any of my.
Why does this guy keep sending me an invite every week?
Yeah, I know.
I don't even play golf. I'm here for
Shoot,
soccer.
what if he registered? What if he swooped in and registered the 3-man before? Like if that happens, one of you guys are eliminated for sure.
Well, he's gonna have to be on the pod then,
Yeah. Oh shoot. Wait.
or the
okay,
chat.
Yeah, we should. He's probably. I mean, his internet's probably better than yours.
Yeah. No shit. People
All
live in a
right.
cave have better internet.
Okay, so the invite is out. If I was more prepared and a smarter guy, this would have already been done, but it is out. Check your
There it
emails.
is.
Check your DraftKings apps. We're
Winner.
gonna go straight up. DraftKings snake draft style. And so, does the champion go first, or does the loser go first? I can't remember because I've never been the loser.
I think the champion goes first because you've gone first a lot.
Damn it. Okay.
I'll go. I prefer to go third. How about that?
If you,
Nope.
no. Brad
Nope.
says no.
No.
Wow.
We're gonna take you out of your comfort zone. You have to go first.
No, all those nopes were all Brad.
Take your stupid ass advantage and just go with it.
All right, I'll go DJ.
Okay.
I didn't. Let him go third.
All right, Chris, you're second. You were gonna swoop up DJ, huh?
I'm gonna go Spieth off the board.
Okay. I will gladly let you have speed. I will take Henrik Stenson.
You again.
Oh yes. I recall that rule now. I will take. I will take.
We need elevator music.
Charles Schwartzel.
I like that.
Sorry for not being more prepared.
I'm gonna go JB Holmes.
Okay.
Okay, I will go. Kevin Na.
I hope he has his baby.
Baby.
And Kevin Kistner.
All I would ever do is wish happiness on Kevin Na, and that means baby this week, and you're going down because of it. You're gonna wear a fucking Keegan hat.
I'm gonna go Jason Day.
I already took
You took Day?
No,
You
I
took
didn't.
Stenson.
I was just testing you.
You're fucking with me.
I thought about Day for a long time though. Ooh. All right. I will drop down and I will take the other Jason, the real Jason, Dipspit Duffner.
Back to you, Brad.
Also me. Again, I remember that rule.
He was last round.
I did realize that rule existed from last round. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm atrocious. Okay. We will go Daniel Berger.
Shit. That was my next pick. Dirt McGirt.
I will. Oh yeah, you're up. McGirt.
I'm in the middle of the Oreo sandwich here.
I'll go.
It's a shit sandwich.
I'll go Swafford. No, I won't. I take that back. What do I want here?
Want it all.
Horschel. and then Scott.
Okay.
Okay. So are you done?
You've
No,
got
I got
one
one
more.
more.
You should have the last pick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go Ricky Barnes. And then Brad for his last two,
Okay.
I think.
I am going to be forced to whoop both your asses with Webb Simpson and Justin Rose. I was going to go Brooks, but I don't want to risk the WD with Brooks. So I'm going to take Rose.
I will finish it off with Ryan Moore.
Hmm.
Things that make you go,
And I
Thought
will
about
go Paul Casey.
Don't do it. What'd you say?
Paul Casey.
All right, Paul Casey. Locked and loaded. My lineup is in. The lineup I care about most every single week. Thursday to Sunday. So I don't have to wear another Keegan hat.
It's a nice lid.
Yeah.
What's it covering
I was,
up? TaylorMade? Titleist?
Huh? What'd you say?
What's it covering up? TaylorMade or Titleist?
Oh, it's covering up all my hopes and dreams and happiness.
That's all.
It's Titleist. It's gotta be Titleist. All day, every day. All right, well, I think that's gonna do it for us. This was a lot of fun. A little bit of a shit show in terms of the internet.
God damn.
I don't want to point any names, or I don't want to point to any specific country or anything like that, but it's not mine. That's what they get for trying to connect two countries, you know? Happiness,
Yeah.
peace.
Our
Peace on
governments just don't work together.
Yeah. Well, we can't solve that problem here tonight, right? So
No.
let's go ahead and move on, I think. So, Chris, where can the people of slurv.com find your fantastic work?
You can check my content out over at dailyfantasysportsrankings.com. Got a free article up as well as my cheat sheet for every week with course information, course history, stats, and all that good stuff. And on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9. Eric?
Yeah, Twitter is ePattersonFS. I write a weekly column for DFS On Demand. And you can find me here every Wednesday night with you two.
Awesome. So you guys check me out on Twitter at Brad Messersmith, M-E-S-S-E-R Smith. Don't forget to check out my love-hate article on DraftKingsPlaybook.com and, of course, the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, which I am a host of with my good friend Kenny Kim. We talk about all sorts of golf and Koreans and everything else under the sun. A lot of fun. And my Euro Tour article on DFS On Demand. It's always some fantastic content over there. And that's going to do it, I think.
One more thing on you there, Brad, is people should go check out your 5 ways to win more money in daily fantasy golf as well over on the Fantasy Golf Degenerate Sports blog. It's absolutely amazing article.
Awesome. Thank you.
A lot of insight there. It was perfectly written, so good job on that.
Yeah, if you guys want to find that, go to my Twitter at Brad Messersmith, M-E-S-S-E-R Smith. It is pinned to my timeline. You can check that out and find it there. I'll probably tweet it out a couple more times here. I don't want to beat anybody to death, but I did put a lot of work into it, put a lot of thought there, and some really fun scenarios and situations and game theory and kind of high-level strategy. So
terrific
kind of
points.
A little bit of a break from the play this guy, play that guy, don't play this guy for this reason, and take a little bit of a 10,000-foot view. So definitely a little bit of a interesting break as we go into the FedEx Cup playoffs. And I think that's going to do it for us. So for Chris and for Eric, I am Brad. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will catch you guys next time.
Cheers.
Fuck Keegan.